Every community has a story. A fortunate few have keepers willing to share those stories. There's a small town in South Dakota located at the northeastern edge of the beautiful Black Hills that is blessed with just such a person. Historian Charles Rambo has shared his passion of history for decades. As a high school history teacher, his reputation is legendary.
Unfortunately, very few people know of this Sioux Council, a vast gathering of Native people camped on the north side of Bear Butte Creek. So many that their herd of 20 or 25,000 horses could not have been kept at that location very long because they simply didn't have sufficient feed for them. Ben Ash Monument is quite a little ways north. It's where Ben Ash, who was leading a party on the Bismarck-Deadwood Trail, the first party that came down the Bismarck-Deadwood Trail, spotted the Black Hills in the distance. And Ben Ash wrote in his diary that from here we could see the Black Hills. Heard some shots, and it was getting dark, so they didn't go out at that moment to check on it. When they got out early in the morning, they found the body of Red Nolan. They found that his mail pouch had been cut open, and mail had been opened and was scattered. Now, realistically, the Indians would have had absolutely no interest in the mail. About the only people that would have had any interest in the mail would have been road agents, thieves, who had initially killed Red Nolan because people very typically sent money in the mail or whatever might be of value. And as he came in the door of the saloon, he called the name Russell. And Russell turned, went for his gun, and by that time Baldy Ford had his gun out and shot Russell 5 times. The first murder in Sturgis. One of the stories I think that very often is missed, we have a national anthem, the Star-Spangled Banner. Very few realize that the first time it was played basically as our Star-Spangled Banner occurred at Fort Meade, the military fort, of course, just east of Sturgis. At the corner of Junction and Deadwood Streets, at the Junction Motel, is the relocation of the home of Poker Alice Ivers Tubbs. Was reputed to be the belle of poker and faro across the West. Alice was born in Suffolk County, England in 1851. Actually, she grew up in Richmond, Virginia, of course, which became the capital of the Confederacy. And when the war came toward the Confederacy, her family moved west. And it was at about that time that Alice married a mining engineer and moved to Colorado. But extremely interesting character and very much a character. She ran a house of ill repute. Like this was the Key City clan, Rapid City was the Gate City clan. Belle Fourche was the Tri-State clan, Leiden Deadwood was the Mile High clan. Spearfish was the Queen City clan. And yes, we had clan organizations all the way through here. Penn, South Dakota, in other words, Pennington County, South Dakota. And that's written in pencil. And you hide your identity, of course, by putting on this hood. And yeah, it does the job well enough that you're pretty well disguised. And as I used to wear it, but I'm rather reluctant to put it on anymore. As I say, it feels rather dirty to put it on. It's a sad reality that 1923, 1924 was a period of time when there was a very considerable amount of bigotry and the attitude of we are better than somebody else. And that's one of the things I tried to instill in my students, was the realization that we are not better than anybody else. We are all people. We have faults, we have positive things going, but we are simply people. When they got to the top of the stairs, they saw a very considerable number of men wearing white robes. They weren't wearing their hats, and they were beginning to wrap crosses, preparing for a cross burning. When they saw the two little girls standing off to the side, one of the men walked over to the girls and pointed at her and said, "If you ever tell anyone what you saw today, I will find you and I will cut off your ears." The woman said, you know, this was so intimidating, so frightening, that this is, in fact, the first time I've ever told anybody what happened to me on that day, and that was well over 50 years ago. I talked to Richard B. Williams. Mr. Williams was principal, of course, of the Williams Middle School for many, many years. And he was instructed to come out to the cross burning, which occurred just to the south of the campus of Black Hill State. And he said, actually, it was pretty impressive, because he said the cross was gigantic. It was against a white field of snow. It was fired in the black of night. And suddenly we were gathered around when somebody tossed dynamite, and the dynamite exploded, and everybody's attention is focused in the general area of the cross. Then a torch is tossed against the cross, and the cross bursts into flame. Dick said he was offered the opportunity to join the Klan, but he said it cost $25 to join the Klan. Number one, he said, I didn't really have the enthusiasm to join the Klan, and number two, I didn't have the $25. So he said, I remember it very, very vividly. But he said, fortunately, I didn't become a member. So many people were disgusted by what they saw. And so they decided that it's time to take action. So a number of the individuals, students who were not members of the Klan fraternity, got some lumber, got some dynamite. They drove into the area where the previous night the cross had been fired. They set up a circle. They tossed the dynamite. They tossed the torch against the circle. The circle burst into flame. They jump in the cars and drive away. As they're driving out, the police are just arriving to find out what's going on.
What would you want people to remember about you?
Primarily, what I would like people to remember me for is telling the story as it is. Honesty is integrity, I believe. And I think you've got to be honest with your students. History should not be simply a matter of dates and names. History should be something about people, the lives of the people.